360 mode. Yeah, buddy. I know, goofed up as hell, but listen, please stand by for this in-depth camera review. I'm actually working on a video and should be out soon, maybe right before Christmas, sometime in December, that talks about my journey of doing POV videos and what I've learned along the way and all the money that I've spent on all these cameras. What's up, guys? Today we're talking cameras, especially the ones that make you look good in your sim rig and create amazing content. Even though I film a lot in Truck Simulator, everything you see here will apply perfectly to sim racing. Over the years, I've used the GoPro 9, 10, 11, and even the 12. But cameras are changing fast, and GoPro isn't the best option anymore. It's not a bad camera, especially for rig filming. Heck, there's one over my shoulder right here. But for that POV amazing view, there are better options out there and even better ones coming. So today we're going to do a quick comparison of my two new favorite cameras, the Action Osmo 5 and the DJI Osmo 360. Just stay tuned through my talking and driving, because afterwards I'm going to give you settings for both. And just so you know, because this means a lot to me, I got a lot of things going on this channel and I wish you'd come back to see them. After so much truck driving, I finally decided to get my CDL. That's right, I'm getting my CDL. I want you to come back and keep watching that journey. No more messing around with toys. We're driving real trucks, boys. Make sure to follow for that. This is going to be real content. I'm also working on a bigger story that talks about all of these cameras together, not just the Osmo or the GoPro, every camera, like the one I'm filming on, the ZV-E10, as well as all the other cameras in my setup and all the other possible cameras that one could use in POV sim racing. I have a lot to say about it. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I can't wait to put this together and show you guys what I found out. But the one thing I'm really excited about is the Osmo 6. That's right, boys. We're about one day from drop off. The Osmo 6 is coming. This is the Osmo 5. The 6 is coming, and it is so much better in so many ways. I can't wait to share that with you guys. We'll do a comparison between the 5 and the 6. Oh my God, please stay tuned. You will not regret it. All right, enough talking. Let's jump right in. Currently, this is a DJI Osmo Action 5. All right, guys, we're gonna take a short drive today. I really want to promote the hell out of my new series that I've embarked on, and that's me trying to get my CDL. I don't know if you guys know that. If you're new to the channel, I've been playing this game. I've been playing this game for so long. At one point I thought, you know what would it be like if I drove real trucks? And more than that, we're actually using the same cameras we're using in sim racing. Currently, this is a DJI Osmo Action 5. It'll be pretty interesting so you guys can see what you can actually film with the 360 camera. 360 cameras were good at one thing, and that is, well, be filming in 360. Camera like this, you have to set it just right. I have to use my phone, try to get a preview of what I'm looking at, because I want you guys to see what I'm seeing. I want to talk a little bit about this camera here, because this also has many settings, and we won't get into the details, but I want to tell you that tonight I'm trying something different, and I'm shooting in what's called D-Log-M mode. So this camera can just shoot naturally in vibrant mode. What that means is you set it and forget it, right? Just like any camera. But this camera and the Osmo 360 have what's called D-Log-M, and it's a way, oh wow, okay, there was a bird there, I don't know what that was. There's a way of shooting with these cameras that it's a very professional way of shooting, but then you have to go into post-production. You have to go into a professional software like DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere, and you have to adjust the colors and do a little bit of color work and apply what's called a LUT. Now I know that's getting confusing, but the reason the quality of this video is so good is because of that process, right? So a lot of people don't know that. They'll just buy a GoPro 8 and say, well, the Sim's filming with a helmet on his camera. Perhaps I can do the same.
Stay left.
And I say to you, yes, I too am filming with the GoPro 8 back in 2019. But now, in 2025, we're shooting with the latest technology. Things have improved tremendously. These cameras have become very sensitive and very amazing. So, all right guys, give me 1 second. Let me switch over to 360 mode. Yeah, buddy. I know, goofed up as hell, but listen. So that's what's cool about it, guys. We can actually do close-ups like this. We can release our parking brake, and we can actually get the same exact view as before. I do like to pull the camera down a little bit closer to my nose. When I turn it around, as you can see now, it's not that clear anymore. It's not that goofy, but you know, getting the camera pointed a little more this way, even though I told you it films anything in front of it, I am able to get more of a point of view that's similar to what I'm seeing. I'm sorry, it took me a second to explain what I'm talking about, because this camera is literally in front of my eyes. It's blocking a little bit of my vision. It's kind of difficult. So yeah, maybe not the best camera. Let's have it adjusted just a bit more. Maybe not the best camera to film with, but I just wanted to show you guys. So again, this is also shooting in the professional D-Log-M mode. We got 6 more minutes to go. And just so you guys know, I don't know if you can tell, I'm going to try to show you right now. For example, right now I'm looking in this direction, I'm looking in that direction, but you wouldn't know because I can continue to keep the camera straight. There's a lot of guys out there on the internet that do amazing, amazing content, and they're very professional about it. They'll really do research and stuff. Guys, this is a place where we have fun. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, clearly, look at this. Look what's happening right now. Like, this is a place where we have fun. There's no, you know, we'll do our research. We'll try to speak the truth and tell you things the way they should be. But in general, I'm shooting from the hip. I'm having fun. I'm learning on the go, just like everybody else. So just take everything I say with a grain of salt. And, you know, as a matter of fact,
stay left.
If you have information that I don't have, or if I say something wrong, please correct me. So yeah, guys, I don't know. Let me know. What do you think about this Osmo DJI Action 5 camera? I got the Action 6 on the way. I can't wait to shoot with that, and I'll explain why I bought a new camera when the 5 had just come out, and it's an amazing camera. I'll explain all the benefits of the Action 6 soon, and all the other cameras that I own in this series that I'm working on. But
stay
for
left,
now,
and then turn left.
Oh, sorry, I got to figure out where I'm going. This is the 360, and I really wanted to explain and show you guys how the 360 can actually be used for this kind of filming. Remember, it is a camera that's a little bit bigger. I want to say, in general, it's about almost, I don't know, 50% bigger than the Action 5. So be aware of what you're sticking in your face. Hello. How these cameras work. But as I hit record, I was actually talking to you guys about my series of me trying to get my CDL. So stay tuned to that if you're interested. I can't wait to share more of that. We were everywhere today. We talked about me getting my CDL. We showed you guys what an Action 5 camera looks like. And now you are enjoying the Osmo 360. I'm curious to compare the two side by side right here. Here's a little bit of a side by side for quality. As I said, 360 cameras didn't used to be very good. My understanding is the sensor in this 360 is very similar, if not identical, to the one in the Action 5. I shouldn't say identical since I don't know that. And so the quality should be pretty similar. Some of you will look almost identical, but to the trained eye, there's probably a difference. So I'm kind of curious to see that they're both shot in D-Log-M mode. So here's a cool example I just want to show you guys. So I wasn't looking over at this guy, I just turned my head and looked at him, but I wasn't looking. I could see him in the mirror that he was coming. And imagine sometimes you film stuff and you're not really looking at it, but in post-production you see something. For example, what does this building look like? And I can turn the camera and look at it. I didn't turn my head to look at it. What does that building look like? I didn't turn my head. I really just turned the camera quickly. What is on this side? And then what is on that side? You know, so all this stuff can be really, really amazing with the camera like this. Oh wow, let's look at this trailer. I honestly didn't even turn my head. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. So pretty cool stuff you can do with 360 cameras, guys.
It was a nice ride.
It was a ride. I wouldn't say it was nice or otherwise, but it was just a ride. All right, guys, so I'm going to back this up right here. I think this is pretty easy. All right, no, even I can do that, I think. Let's see. And there we go. Perfect. All right, guys. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Please check out my CDL series, and please stand by for this in-depth camera review. Hopefully, it will be a lot more professional than what I'm doing right here, which is kind of shooting from the hip. Good to see you guys. All right, I'm out of here. Let's start with the DJI Osmo Action 5. I usually begin by swiping down from the top just to check my quick settings. Since I use the DJI wireless mic, I want to make sure I connect it first, and I want to make sure it's getting a connection. If you're not using this mic, don't worry, the onboard mics are just good for this camera, and actually they're pretty solid. Next, I turn on my grid for framing just in case. But most importantly, I make sure that the bitrate is set to high. High bitrate will give you a noticeably better image quality compared to standard, so definitely switch that before you start recording. And of course, use a high quality SD card with a lot of space. These cameras write a lot of data very quickly. The resolution and the frame rate, I always shoot in 4K at 16:9 at 60 frames per second. I like to squeeze the final image into a slightly more cinematic, ultra-wide look in post-production, but all the footage is captured in standard 4K 60 first. Second, let's move on to the camera angle and the FOV. For field of view, I use standard D-warp, and the reason is pretty simple, because I have to. I rely heavily on horizon balancing, so no matter how much I turn my head left or right, the camera stays locked forward and leveled. This gives me a pretty super stable driving POV without introducing too much distortion. I do like the other POVs where you can see left and right further more, but the reality is the camera shakes too much and I cannot fix that later on. So now let's move on to number 3, which is exposure settings. Now let's jump into the important part, the Pro settings. Make sure the Pro mode icon is in yellow and it's on, meaning it's active, and set your exposure to manual. Shutter speed is always double the frame rate, so it's 1/120. The ISO, I've learned to keep it below 1600. 800 looks pretty good if your lighting is good in the room, but my lighting is always pretty low. Anything higher than 800 starts to blow out highlights and create noise, so you don't want that. So think of the ISO as fake lighting. It brightens the image, but it also ruins it if you push it too hard. You don't want to add that. You want natural light in an environment. You don't want to add it through the camera post-production. When I zoom in here, you can see my wheel, my gauge cluster, and my control box are pretty nice and clean, but watch what happens when I turn off a studio light. Suddenly the image gets extremely dark. This camera depends on decent lighting, especially if you like shooting in a darker environment like I do, just to hide the little extra room clutter, the keyboard, and all that extra stuff that you don't necessarily want in the frame. Number 4 is the white balance. White balance always stays on auto. This camera handles it well enough that I don't bother locking it manually. Number 5, image adjustments. Under image adjustments, and I don't like to mess with this too much, so my noise reduction is at -1, texture is at -1. You can leave this at 0. I don't think it really makes that big of a difference to your image. 6, this is really important. This is normal 10-bit versus D-Log-M. Now, this is a conversation about color. I often shoot in D-Log-M, and let me show you what that looks like. Once I zoom in, look at how the image becomes flat, hazy, and almost washed out. That's normal for a log profile. When you turn color recovery on, it snaps back into something closer to the final look. But here's the warning. If you don't use DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, or that DJI Studio app, do not shoot in D-Log-M because you will be very disappointed. You will not know how to recover the colors in the flat footage, and it will just leave you wondering why everything looks milky and pale. If that sounds intimidating, just shoot in normal 10-bit instead. It looks great, but it gives you a little less control over your highlights and your shadows. So if the image is too dark or too blown out, you're not going to be able to recover it. That's my full Action 5 setup that I use every day. Clean, consistent, no surprises, and it produces a really beautiful POV image once everything is dialed in, and I dare to say it's way better than any GoPro that I've used. Alright, the interface looks instantly familiar because DJI does a great job keeping everything consistent across their cameras. Action 5, Action 6, and Action 360, it all feels the same. So number one, resolution and frame rate. First things first. The camera may say you're shooting in 8K, but technically that's not how it works. Because the Osmo 360 records two separate images that are stitched together, both in 4K, one from each lens, you can imagine why this is called 8K. You're truly not filming in 8K. For the frame rate, I shoot at 30 frames per second. Yeah, there's a 50 frame per second option, but this camera gathers a pretty massive amount of data, and at 30 frames per second just keeps everything manageable and stable for me in post-production. Smaller file sizes, smaller video, you understand. So 2, lens options, wide, ultra wide, de-warp. This is the one camera where these settings don't matter at all. It's just for you to kind of feel good about what you're filming, because wide, ultra wide, de-warp, none of this affects the recording. Remember, we're shooting in full 360 sphere. No matter how you hold it, it shoots in every direction, in any direction at all time. You can choose your actual framing much later in post-production in the DJI app. Number 3, my pro settings. Much like the Action 5 or Action 6, make sure that the Pro button is turned on and that little yellow indicator is showing. The exposure, set it to manual. As always, shutter speed is twice the frame rate, so 1/60. The ISO is no more than 1600, and I've explained why, because things get noisy and messy. White balance stays on auto, and the camera does a pretty good job with that, so no reason to fight it. Color mode. We talked about this before. Here's the big decision. If you edit in Resolve or Premiere, you can shoot in D-Log M 10-bit. It will give you a flatter image to start with, as I've said, but a ton of flexibility in the post-production. If you do not edit these videos in those programs, you better shoot in normal 10-bit mode. You will thank me later. You're going to have a hard time recovering these colors, and the images will be useless unless you use the DJI app or the other 2 apps I've mentioned. So when the D-Log M is active, the preview will look slightly washed out. That's normal. Once you apply the LUT in post-production, the color snaps back to beautiful, and you're able to control the darks and the lights very, very, very accurately. So now for image adjustment. Under image adjustment, I do texture -1. The 360 camera can look a bit grainy because it's trying to capture so much information, so pulling texture down helps smooth things out a little bit. Noise reduction, I usually keep it around +1. This camera tends to introduce more noise than the Action 5 or Action 6, so bumping noise reduction helps keep the image clean. The bitrate, just like other DJI cameras, you better set the bitrate to high. Standard bitrate works, but high gives you high detail, as it says, and you want that in a low light or more complex scene. So final notes, that's my entire setup. Simple, straightforward, reliable. These are the settings that give me the cleanest, easiest to edit POV footage in sim racing and sim trucking.